Hello everyone, welcome to KAIGANGAN Biodiversity Webinar Series. In March 2022, Ms. Elaine presented about the biodiversity of forests over limestone in Samar Island Natural Park, or also known as the SINP. Her study aimed to provide information on the outcomes of the plant and animal biodiversity in SINP. Second, to describe the tree community structure in SINP. Third, to highlight the significance of the nomination of SINP as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site. This was conducted specifically in Paranas and Taft Eastern Samar, a province in the Philippines located in the Eastern Visayas region. Some of the highlight of the results of her study are the identification of some ecologically important amphibians, for example, the Philippine endemic Platymantis guentheri. In terms of reptiles, a very interesting one example is the Lycodon dumerili, which exhibits a widespread distribution and has been documented throughout the Mindanao Paig, or the Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex. Ms. Elaine discussed also about her interesting findings in birds, for example, the Bucerus hydrocorax semigaleatus, also known as the Philippine hornbill, a large species of hornbill endemic to the Philippines. In terms of flora, she found this new island record species, for example, the Tectaria calcarea, a fern or herb species with native range in the Philippines. Overall, Ms. Elaine emphasized that SINP is indeed worthy of its nomination as a UNESCO Natural Heritage Site because of its natural and cultural significance. The following month, Ms. Ren D. Obenya successfully presented a very good study on some threatened woody plant species of forests over limestone in the Philippine Islands. The study determined the threatened woody plant species in the forest over limestone in the Philippines and discussed the threats of the forest over limestone in the country. And of course, Samar Island is one of her study sites in addition to Cebu and Batangas sites. Ms. Ren presented the list of critically endangered species based on the Philippine DO Red List and the IUCN Red List. She also made an emphasis on economic uses of some of the identified threatened woody plant species in her study sites. For example, the Shirrea nigrocensis, a Philippine endemic pterocarp species, and our very own Tectona philippinensis with known natural populations in Batangas and in Mindoro. The third one is the Aquilaria cumingiana, a source of agarwood, a highly prized resin with many economic values. And the fourth example is the Hopea philippinensis, which is also a Philippine endemic dipterocarp species. Part of the study is the identification of threats and conservation concerns in the study site. For example, the limestone quarrying, deforestation, illegal logging, among others. Ms. Ren concluded the presentation by highlighting the potential contribution of her study to sustainable development goals. In May 2022, UPLB Assistant Professor Deza Marie Antoinette Fernandez gave us new insights into biodiversity of forest over limestone in Caloocan Island, Giwan, Eastern Samar, Philippines. She also did biodiversity assessment in the study site for both flora and fauna. Interestingly, Assistant Professor Fernandez recorded 41 plant species belonging to 18 families, of which 5 species are Philippine endemics, 9 threatened species based on the IUCN Red List, and 5 threatened species based on the DAO 2017-11 Red List. And these are some of the photographs of the plant species he identified. Walashodendron salabicum, which is locally known as banuyo, Aquilaria cumingiana, which is one of the agarwood producing Aquilaria species found in the Philippines, and Hansea wenzeliana, also one of the identified endangered species based on the IUCN Red List. For fauna component, 21 vertebrate species were recorded, of which 6 are documented throughout the Mindanao Paik or the Pleistocene Aggregate Island Complex. And here are some of the photographs of the vertebrate species he recorded from the study site. Just last month, we learned a lot from UPLB Assistant Professor Marjorie de Los Angeles, who discussed about the ecology of understory plants of forest over limestone in Samar Island, Philippines. She documented plant understory species in forest over limestones and described the pattern of plant distribution with reference to ecological parameters using multivariate tools in Paranas, Taft, and Giwan, Samar. Assistant Professor Marjorie recorded 26 understory floral species divided into 21 flowering species and 6 fern species. Part of her study is to determine the species richness and diversity indices of Paranas, Taft, and Giwan. In addition, she found that the understory plant species from Paranas and Taft sites are highly affected by soil iron concentration and electrical conductivity, whereas plants from B1 are highly associated with soil pH and other macro and micronutrients.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Kaigangan Biodiversity webinar series. I am Jonathan O. Hernandez, your host for today. This webinar aims to raise awareness on the conservation and sustainable use of Kaigangan biodiversity through a series of online talks from our very own experts. This webinar is made possible by CONserve-KAIGANGAN, a research program implemented by the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, Samar State University, and Eastern Samar State University. The program is also funded by the DOST-PCAAARRD. Feel free to greet everyone and introduce yourselves through our chat box. And please include your organization and location if possible. Before we begin, we would like to remind you of some of our webinar guidelines. The first one, please keep your microphones muted. Second, you may send your questions using Zoom or Facebook chat. We will accommodate your questions in the Q&A session. Lastly, to receive the certificate for this event, please fill out our evaluation form. The Google Form link will be posted in Zoom and Facebook chat box at the end of the program. And e-certificates will be sent to the email you have indicated in the evaluation form. All right, so without further ado, allow me to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar. Our resource person for this morning is Dr. Edgardo P. Lillo, who is a professor for at the Department of Forestry, Cebu Technological University, Argao campus. He teaches courses related to plant taxonomy, botany, biodiversity, among others. And Dr. Lillo finished his Master's of Science in Forestry, major in Vegetation Science at Visayas State University. He also obtained his doctoral degree in forestry, major in plant taxonomy at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. In addition, Professor Lillo also obtained Bachelor of Science in Education. He has also published a number of research peer-reviewed articles related to plant diversity, native trees, ferns, species from ultramafic soils in the Philippines, fruit bats diversity, diversity of mangrove species, among others. Everyone, let us show our clap reactions to welcome Dr. Lillo. Sir Edgardo, you may now start po. Thank you.
Okay, good morning.
Good
Good
morning
morning,
po.
everyone. Okay, hi. Good morning, Sir Ethan.
Good morning po, sir.
Uh,
Long time no see.
so, long time no see. So, thank you for the invitation and for giving the time, no? So that we could also, or I could also present data from in our areas, no? Particularly the limestone areas in Cebu Island.
Good morning, everyone, and Godi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity of giving this time that I could share our output in the limestone areas of the Cebu Island. So actually, the project is funded by the DOST through the DOST NICER program. So the title of this paper is The Native Trees on Mount Lantoy, Biodiversity Areas, Argao Cebu, Philippines. So the researcher uh, have the idea of having this activity in order to determine the different species composition, particularly on native trees in Mount Lantoy, because Mount Lantoy is considered as one or among the 117 terrestrial areas designated as KBA based on the criteria formulated by the committee. No? This is the group of the DENR and the Haribon, as well as the Conservation International in 2006, no? Based on the criteria of vulnerability and irreplaceability. So, based on their findings, Mount Lantoy is uh, ranked number 85 in the new sites for among the KBA. No? So, this Mount Lantoy comprises the Mount Lantoy specific the mountain, Mount Lantoy, as well as the Nugas Forest, as well as the corridor that connecting Mount Lantoy and Nugas Forest, which is now the Palimpino Range. It has a total area of 10,457 hectares. So these areas, this site, serve as an habitat to 17 or almost 16, no? 13 species. Two of them is critically endangered. That two also is the endangered. Then we have the vulnerable species and the 16 restricted range species of both plants and animals. So aside from that, the researcher also would like to verify the findings of Pilser and Barcelona in 2017. They have in their paper they have published that they have recorded the Cynomytra cebuensis, which is critically endangered and endemic to only to Cebu Island. No, actually this is the species is uh, endemic to Tabonan according to the author, and the one who discovered the species is Sidin Warts, no, in 2013, and based on that study or publication in the paper, Cynomytra could only be found in Tabunan, but based on these findings of both Pilser and Barcelona that they have recorded in Mount Lantoy. So it encourages us to do the research and verify if it is really true to have this kind of species. And we all know also that native trees, excuse me, based on the study of Dantican in 2015, considered the native trees as the basic foundations of our forest ecosystem, and that is true because it has high adaptability to our local environment, no? Particularly in this type of climate change. The species that will only survive are those adapted to the environment. So this is the study sites of Mount Lantoy, and Mount Lantoy is also part of the Argao Delegate Watershed Forest Reserve, no, as declared by the presidential proclamation in 1994, no? That is Presidential Proclamation number 414 series of 1994. So in this study, we use permanent plots. So we consider this permanent plots because we place permanent borders, so made of cement, no, in every borders to identify that is the boundary of the plots, so that during verifications or survey of the study, if there will be changes, no, in the site in terms of species, so we could easily identify, no, where is now the plot, or we could easily locate the plot. So the plots were distributed in different elevations. So since Mount Lantoy is just a small mountain, no, it has only an elevation ranges from 500 to almost 800 meters elevation. So the distribution of our plots is only in lower elevation, that is below 200 meter, and the above elevation, which is above 500. No? So the size of our plot is 20 by 100 meters. So based on the area, we have only identified 4 plots that pass to our set requirements or criteria in the establishment of plots, which is the different types of vegetation. No? So in this study, so we have measured, aside from identifying all the species within the plots, we have also measured the DBH, the total height and the crown diameter, as well as the basal area of the trees. So for those trees with a diameter of 10 centimeter and above. So this will implies or signify on the structure of trees, no, within the study site. So in our recording also, excuse, the total height and the debates were categorized into different classes. Now, we pattern it from the study of Lolical in 2008. Then the computation of the basal area is patterned from the DENR formula developed in 1993. Aside from that, we also include the mapping of and the distribution, no, of the different native trees within the plots, wherein we determine or recorded the coordinates, no, coordinates of every trees, no, based on the concept or theory of of Bantayan in 2015. No? So we patterned the mapping based on that concept. Then we also recorded the disturbances and threats we have observed in the area. So, and we verified that findings based on direct interview of the respondents found in that area in the study sites. So the data, no, that we have gathered, we are analyzed based on the number one for the native trees. We analyze native trees based on its important value, no, the dominance of the species in terms of its density, the frequency, and the relative dominance. Then the species we also analyze based on its diversity by using the Shannon index. Then we cluster also the different species by plot so that we could determine the similarity, if there will be similarity of species between plots. So the clustering is based on the presence and absence of species using the Brace Cortez, the Jacquard, and the Sorensen. No, so we compared the three methods, but on the findings of Bromsborg and Stephenson, it is the Jacquard and the Sorensen which is the most often used method in the clustering in the analysis of data, no, for binary data. Then the data for the disturbance and threats were analyzed using the Binin and Towson disturbance index, no, in 2006. So based on the findings of the study, the result, no, so we have found out that based on the study site characterization, we have found out that generally Mount Lantoy is a forest over limestone habitat types, no, and it is mostly dominated by calcar formation based on the geological map produced by the municipality of Argao. So the characteristics of the site are particularly in the geological composition. Mostly they are raised sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. No? So there are the area or the study site rather is covered by bouldered rocks, so large boulder rocks. So it confirmed to the result or the findings of Oakley Charles in 1979, as well as the findings of false formation by Fernando in 2008. So we have also the different plots. So the plot one mostly is located in the higher elevation, in 500 meters, also mountainous areas. So, and we have found out that the vegetation of that plot is it has a 70% vegetation cover, no? With 80% canopy cover. Then the plot 2 also is found in the or located in the lower elevation with 200 meters elevation, and the plot is covered by trees ranges from 11 to 41 centimeters, so they're smaller, and the percentage vegetation cover is only 60%. While the plot 3, no, so we located or placed the plot 3 in higher elevations because in Mount Lantoy, the dense of vegetations or the vegetation cover or areas covered by trees or forests are mostly in the upper areas, no, higher elevation, because you know the Cebu Island, based from the study of Malyari, in 2000, so Cebu Island has only 1% vegetation cover. No? So, and most of this vegetation cover is in the upper elevation. So, because the lower elevation are converted into agriculture, no? And a combination with agroforestry program. So, the plot 3 is located or placed in an elevation in between 600 to 700 meters elevation. So this is mountainous with vegetation cover only of 50% because of the presence of outcrop boulders, no? Large size rocks are existing in the area, but there are still vegetation. No? So the vegetation type is different from other plants. Then we have the plat 4 also is located in or placed in between 500 to 600 meters elevation. So the vegetation cover is only 70%. No? So based on the result of the species composition of native trees, we have recorded 112 species. And these were classified into 64 families and 84 genera. So from 112 species, we have categorized 80 native trees based from the codigital flora. No? And 10 species recorded of shrubs, 3 species of ferns, 3 species of herbs, 4 for moss, and 4 for epiphytes. So, among the plants, majority of the species were recorded in plat 4, plat 2, and plat 1. And the dominant species are the Syzygium simile, the Ficus benjamina, the Planconilla doclitan, the Calophyllum blancoi, the Leiocarpus kumingi, the Parisia palabog, the Uniotalamus elmeri, the Pomicia pinnata, the Sucilum ossiflorum, as well as the Cinnamomum cebuensis. So these are the dominant native trees found in the area. So the highlight of the study, the result of the study, which give us more motivation, is we have recorded 5 new species and 1 probable new species. So this new record of native trees in the area were the Alectron fuscus, Ardisia tavayensis, Juspirus foliata, Letocarpus robinsoni, Podocarpus rompi. Then 4 species of the 5 new record are endemic to the Philippines, and 2 of these species were already under the category of or classified as threatened species based on the DENR 2017-11. No? The Juspirus longiciliata is already critically endangered, and Podocarpus rompi, this is a gymnosperm, is already considered as vulnerable now. So we consider this as new record because based on literature, we have one study conducted in Cebu into 2010, that is the study of Dr. Buot, no? And these species are not recorded in his manuscript, in his report, no? Published manuscript. So we consider this as new record in Cebu Island. So these are the documentation of these species. So we are very fortunate that during the gathering of data, we have found out that these species are fertile, no? They are bearing fruits. So this is the new species that the probable new species that we have discovered, no? So the manuscript, no, of this new species is under reviewed in the Malaysian Journal of Biodiversity, no? So we named this as the Simachilon. Actually, this is the first name Latoyense, but we honor this to, in our publication, we changed the name. We honor this to Ma'am Lelani America. No? So the Simachilon, indigenous of the Simachilon under the family Anunaceae. No? So what differs it from other Decimachilon is the fruits. So we have found out that the fruits of the species is larger in size and they are numerous, and its shape is oval, no, as compared to other Decimachilon, and the petiole is longer. Then the number of seeds of the species is numerous or higher as compared to other species. And we also submit the species for DNA testing, and we found out that this is also different from other Decimachilon. So we have proved that this is really a probable new species. This is the structure, no, of Mount Lantoy, no, based on the structure and density of the native trees. So among the 4 plots, we have recorded 517 individuals, no, of native trees from plot 1 to plot 4. And we have found out that the native trees, so majority of the native trees, or 66% of the native trees, has a diameter of ranges from 10 to 19 centimeter. So majority is, we could consider this as smaller trees, no? Then 31% has diameter of 30 to 39 centimeter, and only 3% which has a diameter of 40 centimeter and above. So actually we could consider this as residual, but in a limestone forest, it is normal that the trees are smaller, no, in sizes, but we have found out that the larger trees are also, we could consider this as remnant, no, from the previous vegetation, no? So they are larger, so they serve as probable mother trees. So we could internalize that before, Mount Lantoy is really covered with large trees, so because of the remnant, and most of them are Diphthrocarp, no, in that area. So this is the distribution, no, as well as the basal area, no, per species, per diameter classes. Majority of the large trees are found in plot 1, and plot 1 that is in 500 meters elevation, as well as the plot 2, no, the plot 2 is also in, we have also find large trees in plot 2, and that is in the 200 meter elevation, no. So we have the distribution of the large trees is in the upper and the lower elevation. So there is we could implies that we could really, if the area will be protected, so the site could regenerate by itself, no, because of the distribution of the mother trees, which is found in the upper and the lower elevation. In terms of the biodiversity, no, based on the result and based on the computation of the Shannon index of the diversity, we have a 3.5 relative value of 3.5. No, so we compared it in the range, no, by McDonald in 2003. We have found out that the species diversity of the area are still high, no? So there's still high species diversity of Mount Lantoy, no? And plot 2 is more diverse, no? We have found out that plot 2 is more diverse as compared to other plots, plot 1, 4, and 3. So with the recent anthropogenic activities in the island of Cebu, So we still have areas which is high diversity, and that is in Mount Lantoy. And based on the study of Coles and Lees in I think that is in 2000, that diversity will signify for its stability and productivity of the area. No, so and areas with high diversity, so we could imply that these Mount Lantoy are still stable, no, still stable and still productive. So that is why a lot of species or animal species are still coming on that area, no, to look for foods, no, because of the varied plant species, no. For the importance values for the determination of dominant species, we have found out also from the result that Parisia malabog are the species that dominated in the area, no? So with 15% of its important value. No? So dominant in terms of the species are dominant in terms of its diameter, richness, and the density per hectare. No? So although the Parisia malabog is under the Anacardiaceae family, but its form and shape is similar with Dipterocarp. It is large and straight, no, with the branches or with monofocal branches, which is only found in the canopy. So, and they are more adapted to the area. No? So because of the presence of the widenings and sapling that's scattered in the forest floor of the study site. So another dominant species in that area are the Liocarpus cumingi, the Syzygium simile, Ficus benjamina, Gompandra luzonensis, Palacium ububatum, Blanconilia docletan, Terminalia putidissima, Punyotalamus ilmeri, and the Cinnamon sabinsi. So, for the conservation of the site, we could use these dominant species or priority species, no, to be used in the reforestation program, no, of Mount Lantoy. So, in terms of the conservation status of the species, we have found out that out of the 112 species that we have recorded, 17 of which are already classified as threatened based on the DENR 2017, and we compared it to IUCN also. So from these 17 threatened species, 2 of them is considered as critically endangered, the Diospyros lonsiciliata and the Cynomytra cebuensis. Then 3 were recorded under the as endangered. We have the Cinnamomum cebuensi, then the Vitex parviflora, as well as the Apsilia rhomboichia. And 9 of the species were found to be vulnerable, and 3 species were considered as other threatened species. And we compare this result to IUCN classification, and we found out that only 1 of the species out of 112 of the 17 threatened species were considered as critically endangered, no, the Psoriapolis-Perma, and there are only 7 categorized as vulnerable. So under IUCN, we only found out 8 species as under threatened. No? So there is a discrepancy in the result between DENR or the DAO 2017-11 and the IUCN read list, no, of the species. Based from the study of Buot and Villanueva in 2015, we have found out that DENR read list and IUCN read list, there is they have the difficulty in updating their listing because of the area of coverage, though. So DENR or the DAO is considered as local organizations. So they have the high percentage of updating the conservation status of the species, because it is only local, it is in the Philippines, whereas the IUCN is, their coverage is global. So there is now the discrepancy in the updating the status, conservation status of the species. Maybe that could be the reason, as cited, cited from the study of Buot and Villanueva. So we have also the other species, with their conservation status. So we have the Incha bihoga, so already vulnerable in DNR, but not yet. There's no record in IUCN, this update. But for the Stanopsis decorticata, both the IUCN and DNR consider this as already vulnerable. For the Spirus pilosantera, they consider the DNR as vulnerable already, but not yet classified in the IUCN, as well as the Perocarpa. Then the Palacium, Solosunitsi, both of them consider this as vulnerable. Then the Soria polisperma, IUCN considered as critically endangered, but still vulnerable in the DNR. Then the Olliasiodendron silibicum, Cryptocarpa ampla, considered already vulnerable in the DNR, but not yet in the IUCN, as well as the Gymnostoma rumpiana. The Cinnamomon mercadoi, the Adiraceraceae are still other treated, or considered as other treated species in the DNR, but already vulnerable in the IUCN. So those are the discrepancies now in the updating of the conservation of status. Anyway, so the conservation status species will be used as priority in the conservation of species. So we have to prioritize all the species which is threatened both in IUCN and the DNR. So that would be the significant of the result. Then we also recorded the phenology of the native trees in that area, but the recording of our phenology was only based on during the gathering of data, schedule for the gathering of data. So the flowering time, so we could consider the species as fertile if we have the flower of the fruits. And this is very sensitive because the period for the gathering, or the period for the fruiting and the flowering species is, they could be considered as sensitive, because of the climate change that is based on the study of Training in 2010, and they are very useful in the ex situ conservation of the species. At least we know when the period or the schedule of its flowering, so that we could gather the seeds for reproduction. And during the gathering of data, during the period of gathering of data, we have found out, based on our record, that only 70% of the species are bearing fruits and flower on that time. So that is the limitation of our study. We have not conducted the regular monitoring in the phenology. So our phenology data is based only during the period of the gathering of species, the period of gathering of data. So based on our result, unfortunately, when we compare it to the co-digital flora of the Philippines, only one species which coincide with the record of the co-digital flora of the Philippines, and that is the Heliocarpus kumingi. So other species, no record in the co-digital flora. So these are the list of the species with the phenology period during our collection from April to May, and we have not based on the congenital flora, we had not found any record of the flowering of this species except for Elaiocarpus cumingi. So we have analyzed also the data, our data by clustering our native tree species so that we could determine if there will be similarity of species from plot 1 to plot 4. So our criteria in the clustering is based on the presence and absence of species. So wherein we compare the result from Brachycortes, Sorensen, and the Jacquard. And we have found out that the Brachycortes clustering, there is only 2 groupings of clustered vegetation, or 2 vegetation types were identified, wherein the plot 3 and plot 2, according to Brachycortes, is considered or belong to one subgroup. It means their species are almost similar. Then plot 4 and plot 1 is forming another subgroup. So another form of vegetation type, different from plot 2 and plot 3. So when we see also the findings based from the Jacquard and the Sorensen, both Jacquard and Sorensen clustering, we have found out there are 3 types of vegetation. So plot 2 in both Jacquard and Sorensen considered it as a distinct type of vegetation, so differ as compared to plot 3. So the plot 3 also is species of plot 3 are different in plot 2, so distinct. So two plots 2 and 3, they have a distinct type of vegetation type, so they differ from each other, opposite to the findings of Brachycortes. However, both 3 methods, Brachycortes, Jacquard, and Sorensen, found out that plot 4 and plot 1 are forming together as one subgroup. It means the plot 1 and plot 4 they have similar species. So we could say in our findings, based from these 3 methods, that the result is in plot 4 and plot 1 is very reliable, based on the 3 methods. So in Mount Lantoy, so we consider that there are 3 types of vegetation. We favor our result from the findings of Jacquard and Sorensen. So because in literature also, according to Stephenson, as I mentioned a while ago, that Jacquard and Sorensen is the most oftenly used methods in the clustering of species. Then, knowing also in how destructive is the site, wherein we study the disturbance index of Mount Lantoy, based on our observation and direct interview by the respondents. So we have found out that the area is affected or experience rapid deterioration caused by the illegal hunting. So peoples are doing illegal hunting. So one time we have seen a group of hunters. We take an documentation. So in that area, and we have record this one. Then we have the charcoal making, then conversion of the area into agriculture. So these are the disturbances that we have found. But not all of the area. These are only an isolated situation in some of the area Mount Lantoy. That is why when we apply the Binin and Towson scoring, we have found out that the scoring is 0.72. So, and we, based on its category, we have found out that Mount Lantoy are still moderately disturbed. So that is why these disturbances, activities, or anthropogenic activities has not yet affected, no, or still in this first part, no, of its deterioration to the diversity of species in the area, because Mount Lantoy are still moderately disturbed, and it is based sa young diversity value, it has still high species diversity. So we are not yet in the critical period, no? So we still have time that we could protect the area, no, and preserve the remaining threatened species in the area because of these findings, no. So that is our main conclusion, no. So we still have time, and we already published this paper in Philippine Journal of Science and presented this result to the municipality, different municipalities that cover the Mount Lantoy as KBA. No? So we ask their support to protect and conserve the remaining species of Mount Lantoy. So that's all. That would those are all the findings, no, so of our study. So thank you and good day everyone once again. So if you have some questions, so maybe you could chat, no, because so we have a problem also with internet connection in our area. Thank you once again, and thank you for the invitations. Thank you also to Dr. Boat and the organizer of this activity, at least allowing us to present our result, no, of the existing species in Mount Lantoy in Cebu Island.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lillo, for sharing with us the results of your study about the native trees on Mount Lantoy, Key Biodiversity Area, or KBA, of Argao Cebu, Philippines. All right, to everyone, if you have any questions to Dr. Lillo, please leave them in our chat box or Zoom chat box or in the comment section of our Facebook Live. Also, I just want to remind that if you want to receive the A certificate for this event, please do not forget to fill out our evaluation form. The Google form link will be posted in Zoom and Facebook chat box at the end of the program. And take note that certification will be sent to email you have indicated in the evaluation form. We will now proceed to answer some questions from our audience. To help us with our Q&A session, please welcome Ms. Ren Devian Obenya, the University Research Associate of CONserve-KAIGANGAN project.
Good morning po, Dr. Lillo.
I thank you, Ma'am Rain. I
Opo.
thought you are mute. Sorry.
Okay lang po. So, good morning participants. So, napaka-diverse po ng ating participants ngayon. Allow me to lead them. So, we have participants from Aurora State University, CTU Argao Campus, Bicol University, MSU IIT, Iligan City, Lanao del Norte, napakalayo. Pampanga State University, Caraga State University, and UPLB, Don Honorario Ventura State University, Negros Oriental State University, and MSU Misamis Oriental. So thank you po for attending our webinar today. Thank you for your time. So if you have any questions to Dr. Lillo, please leave them in our Zoom chat box or in the comment section of our Facebook Live. So we will be still accepting them. So, sir, ready na po ba kayo for the Q&A session?
Sa kayak lang.
Yes po, sir. Kaya niyo po yan, sir. Kaya mo yan. So, sir, the first question that we receive is, how do the communities utilize the native tree species in Mount Lantoy? And do they also participate in the conservation of these species? If so, how do they contribute to its protection?
Okay, so thank you, Ms. Rain. So that's a good question. At least people will also know of the status of Mount Lantoy, because the study is conducted or was conducted in 2017 and today is 2022. So what happened now to Mount Lantoy? So people in the surround Mount Lantoy actually is they utilize the native trees, no? Some of them cut the trees gathered for construction, for fuel wood gathering. No, then some of the area of Mount Lantoy was converted to agricultural areas. Some people are also encroaching in the area, no, for residence purposes. So how the CTU, no, protect the area? So there are existing POs in the area. We consulted the POs and we have a collaboration with POs in the area. No? So through memorandum of agreement for the conservation and protection of the area. Part of the project is the establishment of a 1 hectare rehabilitation of Mount Lantoy. Through the project, we give some amount to PO, and it is the PO who implement the project. So we also record a part of that MOA is also the continuous protection of the area. No? We have also the warden, and also we collaborated with the barangay official that surround the Mount Lantoy. And we ask a resolution that there will be a resolution that will be formulated, no, or a policy that will try to protect Mount Lantoy, specifically for Mount Lantoy. So that is the situation, and we appreciate it on for the GO and the local community, no, for positive approach, no, in the protection and conservation of Lantoy.
Okay, sir. Sir, is it ongoing project po, yung hectare and then with the participation of POs?
The 1 hectare conservation is based on our agreement, where we need the PO raise the seedlings and then plant. Then we give them some amount for that activity, and based on that agreement, they will be the one to continue the conservation and the protection of the area, because the project also already ended. No, we don't have. We still are submitting project or proposal to the DOST to continue the project. No, until now, we have not yet received. So this and that agreement with the PO, they will be the one to continue the project for the conservation of Mount Lantoy.
It's really good to hear that the project were continued by the locals po. So, sir, let's proceed po with next question. This is from Sir Leslie Obiso. So, Dr. Lillo, good morning. Do we have data from non-forest products in Mount Lantoy KBA, floral species of non-forest product?
Thank you, Mr. Obiso. So with regards to non-forest products, we have also data, no? Because part of the project is the biodiversity assessment of the flora and fauna. So, and we conducted also interview with the area. So we have the data.
Thanks, sir. The next question is, sir, is what does your team consider in establishing the plots? Or how do you choose where you should establish the plots in your study area?
So that's a good question. No? That is, during the formulation of the proposal, we plan out to have these permanent plots, and we set criteria because on when we have to establish the plot. No? So number one criteria is the variability, of the area. There will be stratifications and varied vegetation type. So it should be, or there will be representation of the different vegetation type in the area. So that is why we consider the lower and the upper elevation. So those are the criteria. And the distance, mostly from one in the same elevation, mostly 500 to 800. So the elevation is mostly similar. So we have a distance, a minimum distance per plot of 250 meters. Plots.
Sir, bali, you still have the markings of the you plot established during this study po. You still have the markings po. You leave the
Yes.
okay.
Because that is permanent plot. So we establish the permanent markers or borders so that we could to facilitate for the evaluation and continuous supervision and checking if there will be changes in the plots. So regularly we visited the area. So if there will be, if the people are encroaching that area, then if there will be changes, monitoring new species and others.
Okay, sir. But sir, does the locals are involved during the biodiversity assessment? Are there any locals that aids you during this field work?
Okay. So during the gathering of data, actually we have the protocol. We conducted first the protocol with the municipality and the POs and the local communities in the area, and we require them to participate during the gathering. So because we have a plan that the area will be part of the conservation area is the establishment of the tourism. Where we have agreed with the local community, the barangay itself, and the PO that we will consider Mount Lantoy as one of the tourism area. So we train some of the people. They have identified people to participate and be trained to be used as guide if there will be if there will be guests that will visit the area. So at least those guides will be the one to educate these people.
Yes, sir. I apologize. So we have a time limit with the Q&A. So I will be asking na po the last question. So what are the challenges you've encountered po when you conducted your study?
What, ma'am?
What are the challenges po you've encountered when you conducted this study, sir?
Well, there are several challenges because number one, there is in terms of the budget, there is the release. Then when we have the budget, we conduct first the meeting with the LGU, because the LGU until now they don't have guidelines and policies on the protection of the biodiversity. So that is the one problem. We during our meeting we need to convince them because that is not part of their priority. So that is a very big challenge for us because we need their support. So it needs how many meetings for them to convince. Then after the LGO, we also convince the local community because the people that's around Mount Lantoy, they're the one who distract or create damage in the area because they don't have appreciated the role of biodiversity. So the negotiation, the convincing of those people, that is a big challenge. At at least the PO there is you have convinced the PO because the PO is more focused on economic aspect aspect for the local community to increase their way of living. So
Yes, sir.
we have the twist from increasing their living by knowing the biodiversity, then creating the tourism. That's what I could add there.
Yes, sir.
Their
Yes.
economic
They will be
income.
the first one who will receive the benefits of
The
this
benefits, yes.
program.
Somehow
Yes, yes.
Lantoy.
Okay.
So I think
Thank you.
several times before fixing them.
Sir, thank you very much po again for accepting our invitation and for sharing your study with us. So I will give back na po the floor to Sir Ethan Hernandez.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you very
Ma'am
much.
Ren. So, Sir Ethan, I think we have met in during my
Yeah,
PhD
yeah.
time. They're classmate.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
classmate kami.
yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Kumusta,
Alright.
Sir Ethan?
Okay lang po, sir. Okay
Congratulations
lang.
that you're hired by UPLB.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lillo. Sir, would it be okay to contact you if they have any questions, additional questions about the topic you have presented today
Okay, Sir Ethan,
via email,
anytime,
perhaps?
anytime.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
anytime.
Yes. May you kindly type your email in the chat box, sir?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you have any questions to Dr. Lillo, you may contact our guest speaker through his email, or you may reach us through the following contact information of CONserve-KAIGANGAN program sent in the chat box. Again, thank you very much, Sir Lillo, and thank you everyone for your questions, and thank you very much, sir, for answering their questions.
Hey, thank you so much also for
We
the
will now
time.
proceed to the issuance of the certificate to our guest speaker. We would like to extend our deepest appreciation to Dr. Edgardo P. Lillo for serving as resource speaker during the webinar paper presentation entitled The Native Trees on Mount Lantoy Forest over Limestone, Argao, Cebu, Philippines, of the 2022 Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series held on August 30th, 2022 via Zoom, signed by Dr. Inocencio Ibu Jr., Professor and Project Leader of CONserve-KAIGANGAN. Thank you very much again, Dr. Lillo.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you so much also.
Yes, sir. The link for the evaluation form is now shared in the comment section or chat box. Please fill out the form to receive your A certificate. Please be reminded that the evaluation form will be closed 24 hours after its posting. Before we end our program, we will request everyone to open your camera for group photo. May I also request Ma'am Ren to assist with us. Assist us with this.
Okay, so kindly open po your camera. So, okay. We have 3 slides po. So, open po your camera. Thank you very much na nag-open po yung camera. So, I will take the picture now. So, 1, 2, 3. Okay, isa pa po. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Second slide na po. 1, 2, 3. Isa pa po. 1, 2, 3. And then third slide po, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much po. Okay na po.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ren. Thank you very much, everyone. The link for the evaluation form is now shared again in the comment section or chat box. Please be reminded that you have to, or that the evaluation form will be closed 24 hours after its posting. Also, those who attended the Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series from March 2022 to December 2022, we will receive another certificate. So don't miss out on future webinars. So I just want to make a short announcement. Our next speaker for the Kaigangan Biodiversity Webinar Series, September 2022, is Professor Diana Shane Balindo of Samar State University. She will be presenting about flowering and fruiting phenology of 3 species in forests over limestone of Samar Island Natural Park, or SINP. This will be held online via Zoom and Facebook Live also. We'll post the registration form and other details of the webinar on our Facebook page. On behalf of the program, we would like to thank all the participants who joined us in our online event for August 2022. We hope you have learned a lot from our speaker and would be able to apply it. If you want to know more about CONserve-KAIGANGAN program, you may visit our website, Facebook, and YouTube pages, or you can send us an email. The links are posted in our comment section and chat box. Please, again, do not forget to fill out the evaluation form to receive your ACE certificate for today's event. Again, thank you for joining us in our webinar for today. You may also stay for a while after closing video presentation to chat with us and to other participants.